Welcome to Diversity Extra with your host, Don McKneely.
And hello, everybody, and welcome again to Diversity Extra. I'm Don McKneely, and thank you so much for joining us today. Our guest on Diversity Extra today is Pablo G.Schneider. Pablo is the founder and chairman of the Renaissance Dinners. Pablo, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Don.
So, Pablo, if you would, can you tell us a bit about your background, some of the early years? I'm sure you've had some great experiences. Can you talk a little bit about your history and background?
Sure. What are most important to me are faith, family, and friends, and my life's work growing companies to create economic empowerment, doing media work to promote success, and then engaging in leadership to develop and advance diverse leaders in the top leadership of America. There's a story that was done previously called From Dishwasher to Business Leader. I actually started out leaving high school and working as a dishwasher, and then from there it's been a pretty big adventure. I ended up going to college for 9.5 out of 14 years after that, and going into corporate America. And I had a wonderful 20-year career in corporate America with large companies such as Blue Cross Blue Shield and Delta Dental. And I was honored to be the founder and first CEO of both Delta Dental de Mexico and Blue Cross Blue Shield de Mexico. So after a 20-year corporate career, I decided to shift gears and start working with small and medium-sized enterprises, mostly minority and women business enterprises, and with a significant focus on doing business with the Fortune 1000. So along the way, I started writing in the media about 10 years ago. And to date, I've published 211 articles in national media outlets, and really have enjoyed doing the media work to help promote success. And I've actually written about quite a few diverse individuals at the Fortune 1000 board and C-level, business owners and entrepreneurs, and leaders across all sectors of society. And then the third area is that in the last 20 years, I've actually spoken at, moderated, organized, or chaired 137 leadership events.
Wow.
And one of those series of leadership events is actually 26 Renaissance dinners that we've done over the last 6 years in 10 different cities with 1,965 participants and 107 unique speakers. So it's really been an honor and a pleasure and really a privilege to have been blessed to be able to go from dishwasher and spending a few years washing dishes, mopping floors, bussing tables. I ended up working in restaurants for 10 years and actually learned a lot about human nature before I went on through my education, through my corporate career, and then my career, really the last dozen years, focused on growing small and medium-sized companies, as I mentioned, predominantly minority and women business enterprises.
Well, Pablo, you mentioned the Renaissance dinners and your history there. When did the Renaissance dinners all begin?
Sure. They started in April of 2012 in Chicago. Our very first Renaissance dinner was on a Monday night. It was a National Hispanic Leadership Conference, and they had no dinner on the agenda. And so knowing that there were going to be many great Hispanic leaders there in Chicago and available for dinner on a Monday night, I went ahead and invited the folks, and I thought it might be 25 or 50 people, and then it gained momentum. And it made sense to invite also, in addition to the Hispanic leaders, invite the African American and Asian and Anglo leaders and really broaden it into an event with diverse leaders and top leadership. So at that very first Renaissance dinner, we ended up with 150 people, approximately 30 different organizations. It was on the 30th floor of the Blue Cross Blue Shield Tower overlooking Lake Michigan and Millennium Park. And we had a wonderful winemaker from Napa who 25 years ago was mowing lawns and picking grapes and became a master winemaker. We had a wonderful harpist who has a master's from the Harvard Kennedy School, and a terrific Puerto Rican artist who at that time had been doing art for more than 50 years. So we had wine, music, and art, and we had 3 speakers at 5 minutes each. And it was terrific because it maximized the amount of time that everybody got to visit and connect with one another, with the idea of helping one another advance, and in particular, advancing diverse leaders in the top leadership of America.
So you've been very, very successful with the Renaissance dinners. Has the format changed over the years, or is it pretty consistent? Can you tell us a bit more about the format and how the program runs and that type of thing?
Sure, it actually has changed some, and a couple of ways also it's worth mentioning. The original idea was to just do one Renaissance dinner per year. And what ended up happening is organically we did quite a few more than that. And it turns out that what ended up happening in terms of developing and advancing diverse leaders in the top leadership of America, when we started getting together the people groups, the generations, including the youth, millennial, post-millennial, Gen Y, Gen X, baby boom, and seniors, getting together people from all different sectors and all walks of life, it really became quite a celebration. So organically, originally we were going to do one a year. We ended up doing 26 Renaissance dinners in 6 years based on organic demand of leaders around the country who wanted to have these dinners. So that's one important element. And then in terms of the format, it actually did change. It expanded because people loved the experience so much. We would have people in the early days, and even to this day, stay an extra hour after dinner and just visit and mix and mingle, as an example. So what we ended up doing in the format is we have a reception from 6 to 7. We have original art at the receptions. Often we have the Napa winemaker with the wine. We featured jewelry making, fashion design, photography. We featured all different cultural and artistic elements during the reception. Also vocal performance. We have our favorite vocal performer at the Renaissance dinner by the name of Stephanie Jones, who has actually been likened to a young Etta James. Stephanie's in her early 30s and she's phenomenal. So we have a basically 6 to 7 for the reception, which is ample time for people to visit, enjoy the cultural and artistic elements. And then we have 7 to 8 for dinner. And most of that time is conversation among the people. But then we'll also have usually during the entree, for example, we'll have the winemaker do wine education. We'll have a book in the middle of the table, 8 copies of the book, so everybody receives the book, and the author's at the dinner, and the author speaks for a few minutes about the book that's in the middle of the table. And then we have one coming up, and we've done this before, where we have the owner of the coffee company, where we're going to be enjoying their coffee during dessert, and the coffee company person will actually talk with us about the origin of the coffee, about the process, about the roasting, about the flavors and what have you. So that's dinner. And then we have the speaker program, and we still have the speakers at 5 minutes each, which is terrific because it's very concise. And the speakers are very diverse, and they all independently pick their own topics. And so based on who the speakers are, the participants are going to hear about many different and varied topics, which is part of the fun of the experience. So we then have several speakers at 5 minutes each, and then we close also with vocal performance. And then, in addition, for example, at the upcoming Renaissance dinner, we're going to have guitar music. We may have harp. We're going to have 3 vocal performers of different styles. We're going to have original art. We're going to have fine cuisine. We're going to have origami crane earrings. And in fact, behind me is some of the original art from the Renaissance dinners. The gold, Heart of Gold is actually from the first dinner in Chicago. And then the one below that is from a dinner in Milwaukee. And it's a heart with wings with a sunflower. It's quite beautiful. They're done by the renowned artist Maria Sanchez from San Francisco. So I know it's a long question to a short answer. And so not only has the format expanded, but also we've done quite a few more dinners than we had originally anticipated.
Well, I know that you do the Renaissance dinners all over the country. As a matter of fact, I've had the pleasure of attending several of the Renaissance dinners and have enjoyed each and every one of them. And you mentioned that you've got, I believe, a dinner coming up on the horizon. When is that, and where's it going to be?
Sure. It's going to be on Saturday, September 28th at the Stonebriar Country Club in Frisco, Texas.
If someone wanted to, say, get involved with the Renaissance dinners or support the Renaissance dinners, how would they go about that? What's the process for that?
Well, thanks for asking. Interestingly, the Renaissance dinners are driven by personal relationships and word of mouth. So we've had 1,965 participants. Everyone has been personally invited by somebody they know, and somebody who knows them, and somebody they want to spend time with. So the way to connect and get involved and participate would actually be to contact me directly, or Dawn to contact you directly, and then we're happy to share the information, share the link for registration. I did put the save the date on LinkedIn as well as the registration link. So it's kind of a nuance, but we actually do not publish a lot in public, just out in general on websites or what have you, because the nature of the people at the dinners is really at the core of the experience. And we're talking about diverse leaders in top leadership, Hispanic, Anglo, African American, the generations, different walks of life. And actually, it's important to us that the people are known and that there's some kind of a personal relationship there. So that, for example, Dawn, you are welcome to invite anyone you know to any Renaissance dinner, because you've been to the dinners, you know the purpose of the dinners to develop and advance diverse leaders and top leadership, what have you, really. So anybody who's been to a dinner is welcome to attend and to invite others. And interestingly, it really is driven, I guess you could say, a little bit old school by personal relationships and word of mouth. And so, and maybe it's a little bit brave of me, but I will tell you, if you call me on my mobile number at 469-766-7010, I will text you the invitation and the registration link, and you are welcome.
Pablo, let me ask you again. You mentioned purpose, and you touched on it when we started. Can you just tell us about the purpose of the Renaissance dinners just again, please?
Sure. The purpose is to develop and advance diverse leaders in the top leadership of America. And that's actually why it's part of the reason why it's called the Renaissance dinners, is that we believe that as there are more diverse leaders in the top leadership of America, that's a catalyst for Renaissance in America, for growth, innovation, creativity, and thriving and succeeding as a country. And so that is actually the purpose of the dinners. So in terms of development, we include millennials. We include the youth, millennials, post-millennials, early career, mid-career, and late senior people. And part of the reason why we do that is so that those individuals can have a world-class curated leadership experience, and they can have an opportunity to meet phenomenal leaders that are all of goodwill and all have hearts of gold and are all willing to personally help and mentor those young people to help them advance into top leadership. So interestingly, with the Renaissance dinners, there's actually something for leaders at all stages. So all the way from the youth to the post-millennials and millennials, they can come and connect for mentoring and for encouragement. And then the people who are in their early to mid-career, same thing, because we have Fortune 1000 board level, Fortune 1000 C-level. We have a wide variety of business owners and entrepreneurs. We have very interesting, diverse leaders from for-profit, nonprofit, government, education, healthcare, technology, finance, banking, really all sectors. And so it's really driven by the human capital of the experience and of the group, and it results in the development and advancement of diverse leaders in the top leadership of America. And I can give you an idea of specific examples. As a result of the Renaissance Dinner, a diverse senior IT executive in a Fortune 100 company got on the board of an organization with $60 billion in revenue. As a result of the relationships among the people at the dinners, that connection was made, and it was instrumental in that individual getting on that board. And we actually have a number of examples of that kind of advancement in all different areas, in different sectors, and in education and business, and people helping one another grow their companies, what have you.
Sounds good. Sounds like you've certainly got something for everybody, Pablo, and it's very diverse. To our audience, if you just joined us, our guest today is Pablo G.Schneider. Pablo is the founder and chairman of the Renaissance Dinners. And Pablo, you mentioned there just a minute ago mentoring, and I know that you've been very involved in mentoring initiatives and working with different individuals as a mentor. Can you talk to your experience around that a bit? Kind of tell us how you got involved in mentoring and how that works for you.
Sure. It's kind of funny. When it comes to mentoring, I say that I'm on a mission from grandma. And what I mean by that is, my Puerto Rican grandmother, born in 1904, in 1924, she took a steamship, 1,600 miles from San Juan to New York, gave up her community, her family, her culture, gave up the climate, really gave up her country, even Puerto Rico is part of the U.S. She was actually born right around the time Puerto Rico became part of the U.S. So 1,600 miles on a steamship to New York City, and her goal was that we would have an opportunity to pursue the American dream in the States. And she ended up living in New York City for 50 years, and then to San Diego another 20 years with us. And she also wrote the story of her life when she was 86 years old. So the reason why I say I'm on a mission from grandma is that according to grandma, you had to succeed. That was a given. And that as you were succeeding, that you're morally obligated to bring others along, to bring others up, and to lift each other up. And so according to grandma, no matter how successful you are, if you just keep that success for yourself and keep it to yourself, and you do not help others, and particularly do not help, lift others up, bring others along, pull others forward, you're actually a bad person. So no matter how successful you are, if you didn't help others, according to grandma, then that was unacceptable. So I joke that I am on a mission from grandma, because grandma loved everyone so much and wanted everyone to succeed so much that actually flowed, beyond us to the next generations, to our own children and our family, but also to the young people. And so I got involved in mentoring when I was in college, and I just kept right on going through some of the student organizations. We did mentoring of high schoolers, and then I actually created a seminar called 5 Steps to Success for mentoring purposes in college. And it was a seminar for high school students. And then I kept right on presenting it. I presented it dozens of times to thousands of people, and had the honor of presenting it on the floor of the Texas House of Representatives to 150 young leaders from throughout Texas. And so I've done mentoring on the one-on-one, and I actually have a list of 55 of my mentees that I've been mentoring over the last 25 years. So it's an average of adding 2 a year for 25 years. And then so all the way from one-on-one to small groups to events to roundtables. We do periodic mentoring roundtables, and I work with my mentees to help mentor their mentees as well. So I'm kind of a grandpa mentor, I guess you could say. I mentor, for example, Nina Vaca, the renowned businesswoman from Dallas, who I've been mentoring for 15 years, and then her daughter Amanda, who I've been mentoring since high school, and she actually spoke at a Renaissance dinner at the age of 16 on the same speaker agenda as Ralph de la Vega, the vice chairman of AT&T, and a number of other great leaders. So it really is food for the soul to be able to help that next generation move forward. And, one must ask, why are we here? We're here not only to love and to serve our family and our friends and our teammates, team members, colleagues, coworkers, but we're here to really to bring up the next generation. So that's why I refer to developing and advancing diverse leaders, both from a mentorship standpoint and then also the top leadership of America. So those are the future top leaders of America.
So, Pablo, as you talk about mentoring, and as you mentioned, you've been mentoring 55 mentees over the years. Have you had any mentors that have been helpful to you in terms of your growth and development? Is there anybody that stands out that you'd like to single out?
I would, and thank you for asking. Of course, there are several people who have had a significant impact on who I am today. I mentioned my beloved grandmother, my abuela, who we call Grandma Mamita. And then in addition, I have a lifelong friend and mentor named Mary Teagard, who was my professor at San Diego State. And then she moved over to Thunderbird in '97, and I started guest lecturing there, and I ended up on the Thunderbird Executive Leadership Council for about 20 years, but really under the guidance and mentorship of Mary Teagard, who is still a senior professor and actually in the leadership of the Thunderbird School of Global Management, which is now part of ASU. And then a couple more. Teeman Dibble has been a mentor to me since 1997. He was on the board of Blue Cross Blue Shield when I became a senior executive there. And for the last 22 years, he has poured into my life. And in fact, some of the books that he has written are on the bookshelf behind me. And he writes about the legacy of family and society. He writes about the generations. And he wrote a book called The Language of Conscience that was translated in Chinese in China by the Central Party School of the Communist Party of China and published in China with an image of Jesus on the cover. So Teeman Dipple, whose nickname is Skipper, is really a visionary statesman of the modern era of Texas. He also founded the Texas Lyceum, which is a network of about 800 of the top leaders in Texas over the last 40 years, and nominated me for the Lyceum. And so I'm class of 2003, so have been involved and participated in the leadership of 41 Lyceum events over the last 16 years. So between my grandmother, Mary Teagard, and then Teeman Dipple, Skipper Dipple, there's one more individual that I'll mention as well, and that is Saul Trujillo. Saul Trujillo is a renowned pioneer in corporate America as a Hispanic leader, and he's been CEO of 3 Global 2000 companies. He last year founded a major Hispanic leadership event called Latitude. And Saul, and interestingly, all 3 of my mentors have spoken at Renaissance dinners. So Mary Teagard and Saul Trujillo spoke in LA, Teeman Dipple spoke in Atlanta, and also in Dallas. And so it's really been an honor and a pleasure. And thanks for asking, Don, because as you can tell, those individuals are near and dear to my heart. They poured into my life and they are integral in impacting me and really in me becoming who I am today and really the person I am today. So I owe them a debt of gratitude, and thank you for asking.
Pablo, thank you so much. As we begin to wind down the program, we want to appreciate you for joining us here on the program today, Diversity Xtra, and we'll look forward to having you back on the program real soon and maybe talk about some of the other areas that I know you've had a lot of experience in, like diversity and multiculturalism and minority and women-owned business. So thanks again, Pablo, and thank you, our audience, for joining us today, and we'll look forward to seeing you again on Diversity Xtra, where we tell your story. You can find us on YouTube, Diversity Xtra, and that's extra, no E, that's XTRA, and we wish you a great day. Thanks so much for joining us.